Hello and a very warm welcome to our Employer Masterclass session from the Change in Education Group. This is an opportunity for employers to give you, the students, a real insight into their world of work. My name is Amos Madra, Careers Advisor and your host here at the Change in Education Group. Joining me today is Bhavini, I beg your pardon, who is Milton Keynes-based graphic designer with a shed load of passion and experience to match. She's been in print-focused graphic design for over 14 years, working in-house for agencies before she broke free and set up her own business, which is B81 Designs in 2011. So for 10 years now, she's been at it. She knows the industry, she knows the business. And today she's going to share her experience with us here today. She loves working with clients in all shapes and sizes. She's worked with some big clients, including Barclaycard, British Gas, just to name a few. And of course, she's working with organizations right across the country. So she knows exactly what's going on. She's got her fingers on the pulse, and we've got the privilege of having her company here today. So a very warm welcome to you. And how are you doing, Bhavini?
Thank you, Amos. I'm good, thank you. I'm really good.
So, the past year has been really difficult for everybody. The pandemic has really disrupted everything, from education to health to graphic designs and things that you do. Can you tell us what the past year has been like for you?
It's been even more of a roller coaster journey than freelance life normally is. At the start of the pandemic, it feels like it was such a long time ago, but I know it was only sort of, 12, 14 months ago. I lost a lot of client work because, quite a few of my clients were small businesses whose own clients were pulling contracts. And so that had a knock-on effect on me. I tried to stay really positive about it and thought, well, if I'm losing client work, it just gives me time to update my website, do things for the business that normally end up at the bottom of that list every week. I did that for a couple of weeks, and then work started picking up slowly. I think as people started realizing that, yes, there's a pandemic going on, but remote working works, businesses just carried on. And I picked up work for a company based in San Diego. And I don't know what happened, in all honesty. Since picking up that project in mid-April last year, things have just been really steady, and I've been moving on from project to project to project. It's been quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's always great, when something like that happens, and that's a testament to your excellent work. I don't think that's by fluke by any chance.
No.
But again, it was great that a company like that was able to see what you were capable of doing. And again, in a time where everything's been disrupted, I think that's where you really need that tenacity and that can do, and just being able to be resilient. And of course, that which has led to more work coming your way. Talk to us about in those difficult days where you had to pick yourself up and push yourself through.
They're a blur, if I'm honest with you. I have two young girls, a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. And I think primarily my work had to come slightly off for a bit, and I had to focus on making sure that they were set for homeschooling and things that their teachers were sending home. So that helped a little bit. I couldn't just sit at my desk on my workspace all day trying to figure out what I was going to do. I'm a big believer in everything that happens for a reason. And I think had I not, had all this client work pulled, the work that then came along that I really loved working on, and the clients were fantastic as well, I wouldn't have had the capacity to take that on. It was just a case of taking it one day at a time rather than seeing it as, the end of my career or a massive lull in my career. And of course, because I've been freelancing for 10 years now, you're used to that sort of up and down, really. Sometimes you've got 3 or 4 projects on, sometimes you've got 1, sometimes you've got 6 or 7 projects on. So it was easy to focus on things one day at a time. Write that list of, right, well, today for my business, I am going to work on X, Y, Z, get it done, and not dwell on any of the negative impact of COVID and the pandemic.
Yeah, and it seems that you've now got that sweet spot. You've got that nice balance between family life and work.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I wouldn't change it at all.
Yeah. So from obviously the homeschooling, we all remember the Joe Wicks videos.
Oh yeah, I did a few of those with my girls. Yep.
I could just imagine as soon as you said I had to do all the homeschooling, I thought, yep, you were every morning with the Joe Wicks.
It worked out. It worked out in a really weird way for us. So my husband was furloughed just as I took on this project for the company in San Diego that I mentioned. So for a while, he was doing the bulk of the home learning, and I was working. We had time to spend together as a family every single day, which we will never have again. Not on a daily basis. So for me, that is one really big positive from all this.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. And I think as bad as the past year has been, there is some good to take from it. And I think it's that opportunity for families to bond and have that time together, because pre-pandemic, that could just never existed. And going to the cinema or going bowling was the only time that people made up for that. Yeah. Now on the weekend, and then it was back to the usual. I don't want to call it rat race, but back to the usual grind. As
the speed of life, it's constantly go, isn't it? And actually, what the last 12 months have, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but certainly for us four as a family, it's given us time. It's allowed us to slow down and do the things that we really, really enjoy together. It's been great.
Yeah, and you definitely get things into perspective.
You really do.
And I like what you said, everything happens for a reason. And, I definitely believe that. So again, great wisdom shared here with us today. So talk to us about that San Diego contract. Were you pinching yourself? Were you thought, my goodness, what is going on here? Did you feel overwhelmed, or talk to us about the experiences?
So it came about a woman that I had met at a networking event in person when we were allowed to go to those events. Recommended me to her client who was based in San Diego, and they had sort of offices all over Greece and Germany and other parts of Europe as well. She did a lot of copywriting for them. They were looking for a designer, and she asked if she could put my name forward. So I said, yep, go for it. And it was really exciting because the work that I was doing for them was COVID based. So they were doing a lot of client research about, the impact of COVID on people's mental health. And my job was to work with them to create things like infographics and white paper reports on the results. So it was really, really fascinating. And what I thought would be the results of their surveys, I was completely wrong. There are so many people across the globe who think that this pandemic has had some sort of positive impact on not only them, but on the environment as well. So it was a real pleasure working with them to put all their graphics and white papers together.
Yeah. Again, going back to the first lockdown, how fresh the air was.
I know.
How clear the air was. And yeah, again, you could see the positives that came
Yeah.
from that. You come across as someone that's very optimistic, hopeful. Would you say that's very much who you are? That's your business? That's what you stand for?
Yes. Don't get me wrong. I have my off days. We all do. But I find that taking myself away from my desk or away from the environment I'm in and going for a walk in the local area, we're really lucky where we live. We're surrounded by lakes and, woods and so many open spaces that I can just put my headphones in, go for a walk, either listen to a podcast or some music, and it gives me that boost that I might need. But generally, yeah, I think I'm quite a positive person.
Yeah, and I think it helps us, especially in business.
Does
You've got to be an internal optimist, as opposed to the term. So, tell us about growing up when you were younger, that 16-year-old. What were you thinking in terms of your future? Did you ever envisage that you'd be doing what you're doing today?
No, I didn't. I knew when I was 16, I knew that I wanted to do something creative. I'd taken art as one of my GCSEs, and I loved, painting and sketching and everything that the teachers were showing us, even, doing things like making sculptures from scrap metal that we'd found at the local car scrapyard, things like that. And I went on to do art and design for my A levels as well, but I still wasn't sure where that would take me career wise. I knew I didn't want to do anything that was, painting or trying to sell sketches and drawings and things like that. So I did a art foundation course. It was a BTEC. It gave us, a year to study different aspects of art and design, and one of those was graphic design. And right from the start, I was intrigued, and I knew then that actually, I could make a career out of this. It's all about communications without having to use words, without necessarily speaking, writing, not necessarily painting, but there's some form of communication and it's visual, and I really enjoyed it. So I went on to study that at university.
Okay, so it was great that you found that pretty early in your career, and I think that definitely helps. But there's some students. I'm sorry to put this pressure on you.
That's fine.
Some students who don't find that calling or find that purpose quite early. What would you say to them? How would you advise them to find what they're destined to do?
Don't stop experimenting with different things. For example, when I did my art foundation course, I was still very, I don't know what to do. And I know I'd kind of narrowed it down to something creative. But we tried things like photography, printmaking, and there was always something new to try. And there still is now, because the design industry is always changing. There are always new techniques. So don't ever stop learning, and don't stop looking for something that inspires you if you feel like you haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
Speak to as many people as you can as well.
You're such an inspiration. I think I could listen to you all day.
Thank you.
What's a typical day for Bhavini Lakhani? What do you do? What would you get up to?
Do you know what? I don't know whether this is the right answer or not, but I don't have a typical day. I don't have a structure that I must stick to. I kind of go with whatever the day brings, because I feel like that's how my business runs best. There's always that I get up early to get a workout in, because that helps me feel like I'm ready for the day. Then I've got the kids to get up and get to school. So that is that's a non-negotiable. And once I'm home from the school run, it's time for the second coffee of the day. And I sit down at my desk and go through what I've put on my to-do list the night before, and just kind of randomly pick what projects or what parts of projects I want to work through. Some days it will be I'm designing a new visual identity for a client. Some days it will be, right, it's time for a magazine to be designed or a brochure. And other days it will be I'm working on my own social media marketing or my own blog, or I need to update my website. So it's really varied. And then at 2:45, I stop working because I've got to go and pick the kids back up from school. So work hat comes off and mummy hat goes back on. And then, they're home from school and we're doing, I don't know, making dinner, homework. My eldest is learning how to play the trumpet. So she practices every other day, and the youngest one practices her flute. And then it's bedtime. And if I've got a lot of work on, I'll do a few hours in the evening, but 9 times out of 10, evenings are mine to, I don't know, read a book, watch TV, whatever I want.
You've got that perfect work-life balance, haven't you?
Do you know, I call it my work-life blend. It works. It just works.
And with, I suppose, working for yourself as well, in the holidays, you still could take your work with you. I know
I could
to check off, but if you got anything that has a deadline, because you're mobile, you can still take that with you, really, couldn't you?
Exactly. I will quite often, at the start of a project, I always, I never jump right into sort of the design stuff. I always do quite a fair bit of research first. And sort of pre-pandemic, when coffee shops and places were open, I would take my iPad or my MacBook and go and sit in a coffee shop with that, sketchbook, pens, pencils, and do a load of research. So I love the fact that I can be quite mobile about where I work. It's brilliant.
It definitely helps. And I think there's something important that you said, and I'd like to just touch back on this again, because, a lot of times people skip over it, and it's so important. When you were telling us about your day and how it's structured, you started off by talking to us about exercise.
Yeah.
Talk to us about why that is important and why that has to be the first thing that you do.
I sit at my desk all day if I've got a busy day and work. And if I didn't do my exercise in the morning, I feel like I'm not treating myself right. I am way more productive when I've done a workout, and it, it's never the same workout. It can be anything from like a 25-minute HIIT workout to a weight training workout that's like 45 minutes long. But it's my me time, and it gets my mind like ready to go. And being self-employed, it's quite easy to get caught up in sitting at your desk all day and just staring at a screen and, getting things done just to tick it off the to-do list or your diary. And, if I've got a busy day, fine, that's what I've got to do. But this is my me time. It's me looking after myself for my work, for my family, and hopefully being a good influence on the kids as well, and showing them that it's 30 minutes a day, 40 minutes a day. It's not much at all.
They say by the inch, it's a cinch. Yeah. And, when I love reading bios, and whenever you read the stories of, the daily routines of successful people, always see that they put exercise at the forefront. So whenever I hear someone say that, it always just captures my attention, because there's a link there. They're all in different sectors.
Yeah.
If you look at the way their days are structured, they're very similar.
They are.
And it starts off with what you do, and hence why you've got that perfect balance. So it really does clear your mind and declutter from some of things and focus your attention on what's important.
Especially when you do things like a weight training workout, because you can't afford to not have correct form or do something wrong, because you're going to injure yourself. And then where's that going to leave you for, the next month, 2 months or whatever? So it really does help you clear your mind of any of the previous day's stress, or an email you might have got that wasn't so great, or the kids maybe not listening to you at bedtime the previous night.
Yeah, definitely. It does help.
It does.
So tell us, we're already coming towards the end here. I think there's so many good things that you've shared with us today, and I could sit here honestly and just listen to you speak, because you're such an inspiring person.
Thank you.
I love your energy, and I think you've definitely got the understanding of life and what life really means. What final words would you like to leave our audience with?
Always trust your instincts. In not just for work, but life in general, but I'll focus it on sort of, the business side of things. Whenever I've got a gut feeling about something, or a red flag has come up, and I have not followed that gut instinct, things haven't worked out the way that I've wanted them to. But, if I've had a call with somebody who wants to work with me and I've felt like they're not quite the right fit, and I've followed my gut instinct and said no, something better or bigger or more enjoyable has always come along, without a doubt. Every time I ignore my gut feeling, it never works out. When I follow it, I've never gone wrong.
Wow. I don't know what else I could say to that. Yeah, wow. That's all I can say. Bhavini Lakhani, you are amazing. We celebrate you. You're incredible. How can people connect with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And my website is b81designs.com. There's a contact button, so people can fill that in and reach out if they want to.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I don't know where I could even begin. Normally I've got, words that can go on forever to summarize the interview, but you've left me speechless today.
I'm sorry.
So, that rarely happens. All I can say is, we celebrate you. You're incredible. Sorry, forgive the ambulance going past. You're incredible, and the story's amazing. And, you keep things so simple, but yet in your simplicity is where amazing happens. Yeah. And I think that's something that our audience should take with them today. Yeah. Keep life simple, keep the important things first. Yeah. Focus on what's important in life. And of course, you can always get that work-life balance, and you can enjoy doing the things that you do.
Yeah.
And, so I just want to say a huge thank you for taking the time to sit down with us today and to share your experiences. So,
thank you for having me.
Thank you.